Hey everyone, this is What's It Fox Gaming here. This is my first PvE build for TU10. I put this together yesterday and I made quite a few tweaks to it with weapons and so on, but ultimately what you see in front of you is what I've settled on. Or actually I do usually have a shield here, let's just quickly swap that out. So this is the build that I use to run Legendary with and just sort of harder content. I haven't taken this into the raid yet, so I'll probably do that within the next few days, and I'll try and get some footage uploaded for you all. But the purpose of this build was to replace my old Legendary build, which was, of course, as everybody had, a perfect glass cannon, perfect vigilance, M1A, classic M1A build. Yeah, I hit some huge numbers with a chameleon yesterday. I did 2 DUA runs. I think I got 2 bill on the first run and 1.8 something on the second run. So I was hitting some huge numbers with this. Works really well. It's not too dissimilar from my previous build and the builds that you're all used to, so don't worry about anything being, really out of character here. It's nice and easy to put together, and you'll probably use a lot of the pieces that you already have. What I'll do is I'll quickly go through the build, then I'll run through heroic missions somewhere just to show it off. I'll probably just pick a quick one. So I opted for Gunner on this one because Gunner has a lot of perks that really complement this build. The biggest one is the weapon handling when you're in cover or not moving for 1 second. That really helps with the chameleon because whilst it's incredibly powerful now with its buff, like really powerful, it has inherently pretty poor bloom. Its accuracy and its stability are quite low, so the 10% handling buff really helps out with that. I run a preservation auto rifle for my second one just for the heals. This is a honey badge with damage to armor. This works really well because ARs intrinsically have health damage, and this also comes with damage to armor. I wish this had this as well because the critical hit chance on this is really high. I think it's got a critical hit chance, yeah, 15% on it as well. So because of that, I don't have any Seska in here. My stats, as you can see, is 60% dead on and 178 critical hit damage with 85% headshot damage. That's really nice. I don't know why it's showing 19% damage to health because this is 18.5, but never mind. So what I've done here is I've incorporated 3-piece Providence because it now includes 15% headshot damage as of TU10 as opposed to 10, but you still get the nice critical hit chance and damage buff on top of that. Added in a Walker and Harris chest piece just here with Obliterate. Originally I ran this with Glass Cannon and Perfect Glass Cannon. The reason I switched off of that and took the DPS hit was because unlike M1As that have big burst damage, the ARs have sustained constant damage, so you spend more time out of cover shooting an enemy. I'll give you an example. If there's an enemy in front of you and you're in cover and it's got, I don't know, something like most of its health left in an armor barrel, so it's going to take one headshot from an M1A as of TU9 to kill it, but with an AR you've got to be out of cover for a little bit longer. So I just felt that with Perfect Glass Cannon in my original Legendary test run I was dying a bit too much, so I changed it for Obliterate. I've got a high critical hit chance and this is a very fast rate of fire weapon. I get the 5% increased rate of fire from Gunner anyway. I wouldn't even worry about sharpshooter with this. You don't need the stability, it's the weapon handling that you want because it buffs reload speed as well. So yeah, that's why I chose Obliterate in the end. Still got perfect vigilance on the back. I went for the Fenris just here, and I actually rolled on weapon handling instead of critical hit chance because, with the Providence and the Chameleon you have really high critical hit chance, especially with your watch maxed out. So I rolled weapon handling on here, but everything else is just critical hit chance and damage. The grouper in there is just to boost the extra damage. I run a res hive and a shield for this. As I say, if my health starts to get low, I will switch out to a preservation AR and just get a couple of kills to get it topped off again. The armor kits for Gunner are really good because they do give you the 30% extra damage. Excuse me, the 30% extra armor as well. So that's really nice. And then I've got the orbit here just for the extra critical hit damage. So yeah, pretty straightforward build. 3 Provi, 1 Fenris, 1 Grupo, 1 Walker. I think that's kind of what I've settled on. I originally had 2 Walker, but the extra damage to armor I wasn't fussed about. If you can, run this with just an AR with damage to armor. Doesn't make a difference what the perk is. Optimist is probably still best, or possibly Strain for the slower rate of fire ones. But I think the Chameleon is a bit too good not to use at the moment. It's definitely stronger than the Bighorn. Yes, the Bighorn can output more damage, but it's hard to land consistent headshots and it reloads too often. With all the weapon handling that I have, the reload on the Bighorn is actually instant. It's really quick. But yeah, so let's slide into a mission, and I'll run through the whole mission just to give you a feel for it. Now obviously using his shield and moving around, I'm not going to be getting the 10% handling buff, but I can just stand still for a second to pop that or dip into cover, so it's not the end of the world.
Point detected. Your goal is a collection of transcripts and notes from months of prisoner interrogations. The information is stored on a military-grade laptop, kept in the main holding area downstairs.
Yeah, so the Chameleon has really good shred capability now. You wait until you get the perk procs on it, it's actually insane. And I don't know if you saw just how quick that reload was there. Where's this guy gone? Oh, it's instant, it's such a good melt.
The first priority
Obliterate really helps here as well.
to keep the true sons busy. You'll be looking for some kind of
I mean, you can run this perfect blast cannon, especially if you've got a shield on, but I just feel that with the extra time that you're out of cover, I just don't think that it's viable. And Obliterate is really nice for this weapon because that's such a high rate of fire. I might even consider running a FAMAS with damage to armour and preservation as my secondary, because again the high rate of fire is obviously better for Obliterators. It just gives you 15% extra damage for critical hits, so the faster you get those critical hits off the better. Another advantage of ARs being quite good this season, and it is definitely better than the M1A, is the damage to health. This works against dogs and heavies. Damage to health is anything that doesn't have an armor bar above its head, so like this guy here. The reason that I went for the honey badger here, apart from the fact that it's really well rolled, is it has really good range and stability compared to the Chameleon. The Chameleon's range and stability is pretty poor, so for those longer range kills I will switch to this, regardless of it being having preservation. It's just because it's more consistent at range. So I do like to run it with 2 ARs. And yes, you can burn through your armour pretty quickly, but Gunner, another advantage of Gunner is you get the 10% per minute. If you max out your watch, you'll end up having like I think 900 reserves on your AR. I think it's like 950 or something, I can't remember now. So that's really nice, and it gives it to your team as well, a bit of 5%.
In here.
Ooh, the melt, the melt!
I don't have to stop. Hey, agent, I see you.
Oh, that nearly cost me my life there, but see, managed to have him perfect last cannon. There we go, let's get an extra preservation. You can go for the headshots, but you know, it's not needed. 10% per kill is pretty good. So you look at my health, it's already completely regenerated. Bear in mind if you switch off your weapon too early, preservation does wear off. So also if you switch off a Chameleon, you do lose all of your buffs. So there is a downside to that. But its base damage is so good now that it's kind of irrelevant. And I mostly use the damage buffs in it from the bosses. So that is the downside to having a secondary weapon that you're potentially going to switch off to, is that you will lose all of the stacks on Chameleon. For those of you that don't know, I will quickly show you them. So the base damage is now 92k on my build at 900 RPM, which is really good. It's very much similar to other 900 RPM ARs. I do want to put together a 4-piece striker build with Chameleon because that is insane. I've tested it and it's really good. But this just has that kind of consistent, reliable, raw damage that I really like. So I feel like this is a bit more reliable, but striker against bosses is really good at the moment. So with this weapon, if you hit 30 headshots, you get 20% critical hit chance and 50% critical hit damage, and that lasts for 45 seconds, which is ridiculous. I mostly go for the body shots because it's 90% weapon damage for you know, the best part of a minute, so that's really strong. I don't even touch the legs. I literally, you'll never see the bottom part of it filled up. And those 3 perks are the 3. What's a 6-sided shape called? The 3 shapes just there. I'm not even sure what it's called now. So you see the top one there is partially full because I was landing headshots. But if you look at the reload speed on this when you're in cover, it's pretty quick with the weapon handling that I've got, so I really didn't feel the need to worry about the reload speed. You know, it's there if you've got it, and if you're just going to spray all over the place, then you're going to build up anyway. But just aim for the body, basically. Headshots aren't even that important. It's the critical damage.
Vital signs critical.
Wait for this guy to stop firing, so I can pop a headshot this dude. Wow, really, dude? Good thing with preservation as well. Aim for red bars because you kill them so quickly.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Time to change back.
That's probably yeah, because the playing's a bit risky. The gunners are an absolute.
Agent down.
Oh, I didn't actually finish popping my medkit. Wow. So my skill build is definitely safer for solo play. I put that in a previous video, and I will link that
Serious trauma detected.
in the description of this video. Yeah, my skill build is definitely safer for solo play. This is purely a legendary / raid build, or just if you're running as a group. I wouldn't necessarily recommend running pure weapon damage builds for solo play, and the only reason for that is just because of how good skill builds are. I run a really optimized one. As I say, I will link it in the description. If you want to run solo content with that build, you can run all 5 weapon directives,
The True Sons seem to
weapon
be in
mission
control of the
directives,
holding area.
and
The hyenas
you
are knocking out
breeze through it.
security
Even
cameras.
cool skills, it works
Pretty
super,
smart of them.
super well. This is purely to demonstrate just the raw DPS of this build, and that's why I've not got any directives or anything like that. I just want to basically go in and shoot dudes. But yeah, honestly, if you've been curious as to what to run on legendaries, and you do want to be running legendaries now because you're guaranteed to get the exotic cash, it's a randomised one each week. So this week it's Capitol Hill, as of the first week of TU10. Nice. Preservation beginning. And preservation doesn't actually stack
Incoming.
anymore with incoming repairs, but you know, 10% per kill isn't bad. Or 20% if you land the headshot, that still works really well. 4 or 5 kills and you've got at least half of your health back, if not more. That sounds like a lot, but trust me, this build just tears.
Can't take much more fire.
How the hell did that guy get behind? Oh, they come out the left door, don't they? So I'm looking at how fast I'm killing things without any of the weapons talent spots. Absolutely slaps. Plus it's just more fun to use ARs. Like, I just found rifles super boring. ARs have always been my personal weapon of choice. Where is this guy? Right, I've got the weapon damage buff on now, so probably the wrong time to proc it. Not much you could do about that though, really, but honestly, I like this weapon just for its
Just
base
lost the camera
stats.
feed from the holding area. There was a bright flash and then static.
The good news is this build works well with anything. As I say, with the legendaries I ran last night with my clan, one of my buddies ran a FAMAS and he was doing incredibly good damage as well. So FAMAS is still really strong. But, you know, I don't know exactly which ARs are sort of best in slot at the moment. The Bighorn is really, really good if you're good at landing your headshots. And you can proc the new headshot buff talent in full auto mode as well. It doesn't have to be in scope mode. So I generally unload one clip into a boss's head and then I'll reload and switch
Up
to,
on camera again. The holding area is just ahead.
you know, the
When you
scoped
find that
mode just to land
laptop,
those
grab it and
dirty
get the hell out of
headshots.
there.
And yeah, like I say, with Gunner, it's the ammo is so manageable here.
Agent in need of backup.
Let's see if we can get some big damage on this chunga. How much time have I got left on these timers? How is he? Really?
Vital signs critical.
want to switch up a weapon here, so I'm just going to use a medkit.
Getting away. I know who you are.
I'm actually going to switch off here just to get some health back. I'm close to getting my damage back, but I was saying that was the last person to kill anyway. That was probably stupid. Never mind. In fact, just to prove that all ARs work, I'm going to use the honey badger for the rest of this mission. It helps if I actually do the mission.
Looks like you got
before
True
trying to
Sun's
complete the mission.
reinforcements headed your way.
North or
Yeah,
south
if
side?
you get a well-rolled
Both.
anything
Heavier
else,
concentration to the
basically,
south.
it still works
With all
just as
those
well. You
gates
don't
sealed, the
need to
north
have
exit should be closer.
this. Like I say, Bighorn is really good if you can get it, but if you're looking to use this build to get Bighorn, just use any AR that you're comfortable with. My personal recommendations would be Honey Badger, Police M4, or FAMAS. The People 16 is pretty good.
Immediate medical
Let's
assistance
get out of
needed.
here. And this is where they're strong, the damage and health.
I'll get you for that.
I feel like they're a little more forgiving if your axis isn't great as well. As you can see, mine's not amazing. You know, with the M1A, you come under a lot of pressure if you're doing the raid, for example, and you're on ads or gens or something, Razorback, to make sure you're landing all of your shots constantly to, you know, stop your team from dying to ads. And there's that pressure as well because it's the M1A was a high burst weapon with a relatively slow rate of fire. If you missed a couple of shots here and there, that's a severe DPS loss. With ARs, that's not the case because you're just constantly spraying. If you miss them for a little bit, you know, you don't lose too much damage because they're low damage per bullet. They're more sustained weapons, and sustained weapons are better for just being forgiving. Obliterate topped off.
Vital signs critical.
Let's get this boss sniper. Oh, that melt, that absolute melt. See, strain could be pretty good here as well if you're not going to use that chameleon. I just love the stability of this gun as well, and of course I've got all that extra weapon handling whilst I'm sat in cover, so. Well, at least one of the bullets landed, that's the important bit. Yeah, definitely be running a pistol with finisher on. You won't really be able to use it at all in Legendary, admittedly. It's just, you know, super hard to
No more contacts. All clear.
switch in time and get the kill. You just want to kill them basically. But just if you're going to run this build for like standard heroic missions or in the raid and stuff, I actually use finisher quite frequently. So But yeah, that's it. That's basically the build. So try and get as much of this in as you can. As I say, the 3-piece Provi with the Walker works really well for the extra weapon damage. The Grouper and the Fenris just help out with the weapon damage as well, and of course the critical hit damage. Try it with Glass Cannon if you want, but I don't recommend it. I feel Obliterate is actually a bit better. You know, if I could, I'd be able to reroll the health to weapon handling here, but it is what it is. Vigilance is still really good though. Again, a little bit counterintuitive because you are spending more time out of cover, but for some reason in this game, ads don't headshot, they only ever body shot. So if you have a shield out and you're facing head on, it's very, very hard for them to land any shots on your head. If you haven't tested this, wait until Vigilance is procced, pop out your shield and just stand still until your shield breaks, and you'll notice that you retain your Vigilance. Usually, I'd say 90% of the engagement you'll retain Vigilance until your shield drops, unless they manage to catch a side angle on you. As long as you're perfectly head on, they will only hit your shield. So Vigilance is pretty good here. If you run any content and someone in your group has Vanguard, where they provide you with additional bonus armor, so that's the blue armor, and you take damage to that blue armor only, that doesn't remove Vigilance as well, it retains the buff. The only time Vigilance is lost is when your white armor bar starts depleting, so that's something else to bear in mind. But you could also switch this out for something like Bloodsucker, or not Bloodsucker, there's another talent that gets you kills. Damage buff on kills up to 25%. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called now, but that also works quite well. The problem with Legendary is you're not guaranteed to get all the kills, so you know, when I ran this last night, I was getting 120 plus kills, so you do have a lot of chance to keep it up, but Vigilance is just free damage for the most part, so I really like that. But yeah, that's basically it. So try and put this together. Let me know what you think in the comments. I do always like to get some feedback on if you have any builds yourself that are better, or you feel are better, or there's any improvements here that you feel that you know, you could make. And if you do like it, again, let me know in the comments. Thanks very much for watching.